Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Vishal Riaz here. Today we are going to discuss the second type of mechanical energy, which is potential energy. Last topic में हमने work done और kinetic energy and their relationship उसको discuss किया था. Now it's a second type of mechanical energy which is called potential energy. So here potential energy is the energy which is possessed by a body by virtue of its position. The type of energy which possessed by an object due to its position is called potential energy. There are two types of potential energy. Number one called gravitational potential energy and number two elastic potential energy. तो यहाँ हमें इन दोनों को differentiate भी करना है कि what is difference between the gravitational potential energy and the elastic potential energy. So these are two types of potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is also known as the stored form of energy. So energy stored by a body due to its height to do some work is called gravitational potential energy. कि जब एक ऑब्जेक्ट में उसकी हाइट के नतीजे में एनर्जी स्टोर हो जाएगी और वो ऑब्जेक्ट कुछ वर्क परफॉर्म करने की सलाहियत रखता है, then this type of energy is called gravitational potential energy. For example, when you lift a heavy object, then you perform work. कि जब आप एक heavy object को lift करते हो, उसकी पोजीशन में change लाते हो, then you do work, you perform work. And here is that heavy object. And when you lift this heavy object, you will perform work. So in this case, you are providing an upward force to overcome the downward force, which is actually the force of gravity. कि जब आप इस ऑब्जेक्ट को अपलिफ्ट करना चाहेंगे, इसकी पोजीशन में चेंज लाना चाहेंगे, तो हमें एक अपवर्ड फोर्स अप्लाई करनी होगी. और उस अपवर्ड फोर्स का मकसद क्या है, उसका पर्पस क्या है? टू ओवरकम द डाउनवर्ड फोर्स, which is actually the gravitational force acting on that object. So the force moves the object upwards. So force is doing work. लिहाजा यहाँ force work perform कर रही है. And those forces are gravitational force represented by mg, which is acting vertically downward. जबकि आप जो उस पे फोर्स अप्लाई कर रहे हो इसकी पोजीशन में चेंज लाने के लिए, that is F, and this force is providing to lift that object to overcome the force of gravity. Hence, during this whole process, energy is transferred to the object. कि जब आपने उस पर वर्क किया, आपने उस पर फोर्स अप्लाई की, इसको डिस्प्लेस किया गया फ्रॉम इट्स एक्चुअल पोजीशन, so it means you are transferring the energy to the object. So in this process you lose energy, but object gains energy. कि आपने एनर्जी लूज की है, लेकिन ऑब्जेक्ट चूंकि उसकी पोजीशन में चेंज आई है, लिहाजा वो एनर्जी गेन कर रहा है. So this type of energy is known as gravitational potential energy. So let me solve an example. And in this example, there is a weightlifter raises weight with a mass of 200 kg from the ground to a height of 1.5 meter. So initially that weight is on the ground and then it is lifted through a height of 1.5 meter. This is the height. And calculate how much work he does by how much does the gravitational potential energy of the weights increases. तो आपने इसमें बताना है कि उसमें वर्क डन कितना है और या फिर कितनी पोटेंशियल एनर्जी में चेंज आई है. यहाँ आपने एक चीज और भी याद रखनी है कि ये जो अप्लाइड फोर्स होगी दैट इज इक्वल इन मैग्नीट्यूड टू द ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स. आप इसको ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स के इक्वल अप्लाई करेंगे. और समटाइम्स इन ग्रेविटेशनल फील्ड वी कैलकुलेट वर्क बाय कंसीडरिंग द ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स. हम ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स की बेस पर ही वर्क को कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं. सो हियर डाउनवर्ड फोर्स इज mg, but an equal amount of upward force is required to lift them. Hence we can write this upward force equal to mg, where m is 200, G is 9.81. So upward force required is 1962 Newton. 1962 Newton. This is the required force to lift that object through a height of 1.5 meter. Now the work done is equal to product of force and distance moved, where applied force is equal to the weight 1962 and distance moved is equal to 1.5. So work done becomes equal to 2940 joule. We can say that this amount of work done is stored in that object in the form of its potential energy. So by doing work, its potential energy increases. And initially it was 0, now it becomes 2940 joule at the height of 1.5 meter. So it has ability to perform work equivalent to this amount of energy. So with the help of this example, we can discuss about this increase in potential energy or change in potential energy. Its mathematical form can be written as change in potential energy or increase in potential energy is equal to weight multiplied by height, and weight is equal to mg, height is h, so potential energy is equal to mgh. So potential energy depends upon the height of object. If there is a greater height जहां तक आप उस object को displace कर रहे हैं, then greater will be the potential energy. For smaller height, there would be a less amount of potential energy. Now, what is elastic potential energy? Elastic potential energy is the amount of energy which is stored in the body due to its deformation, and as a result it can perform work. कि जब आप एक ऑब्जेक्ट में डिफॉर्मेशन लाते हैं, उसकी कंडीशन में चेंज लाते हैं, उसकी डायमेंशंस में चेंज लाते हैं और उससे वो ऑब्जेक्ट वर्क परफॉर्म करने की सलाहियत रखता हो, then this time the stored amount of energy is called elastic potential energy. For example, there is a spring having constant K, where K is called spring constant, and it is stretched until the extension X. कि हम इस पर एक फोर्स अप्लाई करेंगे जिससे इस स्प्रिंग में elongation पैदा होती है, स्प्रिंग एक्सटेंड हो जाता है to length X. So here work done by the force can be determined as, so this is the arrangement where a horizontal mass spring system is arranged on the surface, smooth surface, and applied force produce the elongation equal to x. This is elongation because this was the equilibrium position, and in the result of applied force, this extension is produced in the spring represented by x. So here work done is equal to 1 by 2 kx into x. यहाँ आपने याद रखना है कि इस इक्वेशन का ये जो फर्स्ट पोर्शन है which is half kx, this is actually the average force. एवरेज फोर्स, क्योंकि जब हम स्प्रिंग को एक्सटेंड कर रहे होते हैं तो यहाँ जो फोर्स अप्लाई की जा रही होगी ये वेरिएबल फोर्स होगी, कांस्टेंट फोर्स नहीं है ये. अकॉर्डिंग टू हुक्स लॉ, एक्सटेंशन प्रोड्यूस्ड इन द स्प्रिंग डिपेंड्स अपॉन द अप्लाइड फोर्स, सो दैट्स व्हाई इट इज एन एवरेज फोर्स जो कि इक्विलिब्रियम पे 0 और एक्सट्रीम पे मैक्सिमम होगी. सो हाफ के एक्स, एंड एक्स इज द एक्सटेंशन प्रोड्यूस्ड. So total amount of work done, which is stored in the form of elastic potential energy in the spring, is equal to half kx square. So with the help of this mathematical form, we can determine the elastic potential energy possessed by an object. Next one is the gravitational potential energy and kinetic energy transformations. इसको आप इंटर कन्वर्जन ऑफ पोटेंशियल एनर्जी एंड काइनेटिक एनर्जी भी कह सकते हैं कि how they can be converted from one form to another form, how potential energy can be changed to kinetic energy. For this purpose there is a statement: energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can only be changed from one form to another form. के एनर्जी को ना ही आप क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, ना ही एनर्जी को डिस्ट्रॉय किया जा सकता है, इसको सिर्फ आप एक फॉर्म से दूसरी फॉर्म में चेंज कर सकते हैं. Potential energy can be changed to kinetic energy, and kinetic energy can be changed to potential energy, but the total energy of the system will remain same. Hence, energy cannot be created nor be destroyed, but can be changed from one form to another form. In this equation, ET is the total amount of energy, which is equal to sum of its potential plus kinetic energy, and it remains same. So this is called interconversion of potential energy and kinetic energy. For example, जैसे आप एक object को एक ball है which is present at some height, so it possessed potential energy. When it is released, then potential energy changes to kinetic energy. So in this process, the total energy will remain same, but potential energy changes to kinetic energy. So we can explain with the help of these two examples. Example number one, let we have an oscillating simple pendulum. So during its oscillation, its total energy remains constant, but energy changes from one form to another form while moving from mean to extreme position or extreme to mean position. So as you can see in this diagram, this one is the extreme position. Point B as well as point C, these are the extreme positions, whereas point A is its mean position. So at extreme position, there is maximum potential energy, but there is zero kinetic energy. At mean position, potential energy becomes zero and kinetic energy becomes maximum equal to mgh. So we can prove mathematically the total energy equal to mgh plus 0 is equal to mgh at extreme position. This is the sum of potential and kinetic energy at the extreme position. At mean position, where potential energy is 0 and kinetic energy is maximum, so again the total energy is equal to mgh. So during its oscillation, the total energy remains the same, but energy changes from one form to another form. Similarly, there is another example that there is a car which is moving on this hill. So at there are three different points. Number one, so at the bottom of this hill, top of the hill, and again there is bottom. So at three different points, we can describe the change in energy. At the bottom of the hill, at this position, this is the position. At the bottom of hill, gravitational potential energy of the car is 0. But when it moves upward, at the top of this hill, it has maximum gravitational potential energy. आप ये कह सकते हैं कि while moving upward, its potential energy is continuously increasing, and at that point, it has maximum gravitational potential energy. So when it starts moving downward from the top of this hill, then its gravitational potential energy start decreasing, but kinetic energy is increasing. So we can say that gravitational potential energy changes to kinetic energy. And at this position, it has maximum kinetic energy. नेक्स्ट स्टेज पर आप देखते हो कि जो हिल है उसकी हाइट कम रखी हुई है, और हाइट क्यों कम हो सकती है, रीजन क्या है? उसकी रीजन ये है कि ड्यू टू फ्रिक्शन सम ऑफ द पोटेंशियल एनर्जी विल लॉस, or that's why its kinetic energy again at the top of this hill will change to gravitational potential energy. So finally we can say that loss in potential energy appears in the form of gain in kinetic energy. जब एक ऑब्जेक्ट को ऊपर से ड्रॉप किया जाएगा तो उस ऑब्जेक्ट की पोटेंशियल एनर्जी में कमी आएगी, जबकि उसकी काइनेटिक एनर्जी में मुसलसल इजाफा नोट किया जाता है. Hence loss in potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy. Our next topic is the efficiency of the system. So when a body performs work, then how much it performs work, we can determine with the help of the efficiency of the system. Sometimes we provide a lot of amount of energy to the system, but there is a very small output. So how can we determine the efficiency? So it is actually the ratio of useful energy output to the total energy input. यानी इन दो क्वांटिटीज की रेशियो होगी. यूजफुल एनर्जी आउटपुट जो हमें आउटपुट के तौर पे वापस मिल रही है, and the total energy which is provided to the system. So their ratio is known as efficiency, and mathematically useful output energy to the total input energy. So let me solve an example to discuss the efficiency of the system. Here is 25 joule of energy appears as useful movement energy of car out of every 100 joule of chemical energy which is provided to the car in the form of petrol. 100 joule is the total input energy and 25 joule is the useful output energy. So in this case, what is the efficiency? So here wasted amount of energy is equal to 75 joule because the total energy provided is 100 and the total amount of energy which is produced as an output is 25. So 75 joule is the wasted amount of energy. Hence the efficiency becomes 25 by 100, which is equal to 0.25, or we can write 25%. So this is the efficiency which is equal to 25%. Now there are two questions and this is an assignment. आप इसको complete करेंगे. In first question, a pendulum which consists of a brass sphere having mass 5 kg hanging from a long string. The sphere is pulled to the side so that it is 0.15 meter above its lowest position. This is the height. So it is then released. How fast will it be moving when it passes through the lowest point along its path? यानी आपने इसकी मीन पोजीशन पर इसकी वेलोसिटी फाइंड करनी है. तो एक क्वेश्चन ये है जो आप अटेम्प्ट करेंगे और सबमिट करेंगे. And there is another one. A man pushes a wheelbarrow having weight 800 Newton with a force of 200 Newton on a ramp, or it is also called an inclined plane, whose length is 5 meter and height is 1 meter. So find the efficiency of this ramp or this inclined plane. इसकी efficiency कितनी है वो आपने calculate करनी होगी. तो these are two questions जो आप लोग attempt करेंगे और इसको आप WhatsApp group में submit करेंगे. Thank you.